This week on our Coaches Check-In, we are joined by the four-time national champion and the 34-year head coach now of Salisbury University field hockey, Dawn Chamberlin, everybody. Dawn, thanks for joining us. Good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, here we are, just a couple weeks shy, hopefully, of a field hockey season in the spring of 21. How's practice been lately, knowing that the longest off-season ever is about to end?
Yeah, we had a great fall, and we were excited to have the opportunity to at least practice every day, and now looking ahead and knowing that we have some games scheduled for the spring is just really really excited. And I know our young women are working really hard in the weight room right now and doing all their strength and conditioning stuff with Coach Matt, and they're just eager to get back on the turf.
Now, speaking of that turf, something that maybe not a lot of people would think about, but you're playing a fall, usually a fall sport now in the spring, and the weather differences can be adverse sometimes. Are there any major differences weather-wise in a sport where the surface conditions can be really, really important to the game flow?
Well, I think, certainly ice on the field is not a good thing, but I don't think on the Eastern Shore we have to worry about that too often. But, the biggest thing is, um, you know, hitting the ball. When you hit the ball and the temperature's really cold, it really radiates and stings your hands really bad. So they don't like to hit, and they don't, and it's challenging to hold the stick without gloves on. You can't wear gloves and play. So I think that would probably be the biggest weather issue. And just for me, standing out in the cold for a couple hours a day, that's but we'll be able to adjust to that because we're just excited to be able to be out there again.
It's one of just many adjustments that really every team has had to face in the midst of the pandemic and the shutdown and coming back from that. How has the culture around your team helped your team be able to adjust to the situation that, frankly, no team has ever faced before?
Well, I mean, we have a great team, and we have a really really strong culture, good work ethic, and I think just sport in general and what we bring, with our culture are, certain, I know that you may seem cliche and trivial, but just certain words, that we use every day, things like, grit and perseverance and discipline and, controlling the controllables, overcoming adversity, disappointment. Those are all words that we talk about in our culture. And then other things like that are a little bit more on the positive side. Such as always believing and gratitude. Being appreciative and thankful for the opportunities that we did have this fall and that we're going to have this spring. Those are all really, really important factors and really strong points in our philosophy and our culture of our team that has really helped us through all this and enduring all this. There's no greater platform than sport for teaching life skills, and we've had an opportunity here to take the things that we talk about every day as a team and apply them to real life situations. So, I think it's a great, teachable moment and a learning opportunity for us. So, we're making the most of that and always reminding them about those types of things.
Were you and your team able to do anything special on would-be game days in the fall to sort of mark the occasion and come together as a team and say, okay, we don't have games right now, but we're still going to get together and be a team on these days?
Well, once we got through the break-in period, then we were able to transition to pretty much full practices. Obviously we were masked and we social distance as much as possible, but we were allowed to scrimmage. So, we had a lot of competition days, some of them designated on days that we would actually be competing and we scrimmaged hard. So, we really brought that in, but, we tried not to focus on what we didn't have and really focus on what we did have. And that was the opportunity to be out there as a team together. enjoying each other's company and working on a sport that, we love to play.
And it's a love that translates, I'm sure, from sport to your teammates. And one of the challenges, I'm sure, in team building during this whole thing is acclimating the freshmen who are new to the program into a time when you can't really have your normal initiation processes. How are you and your older players able to bring in the younger players into the fold during an irregular time like this?
Well, I think our younger players outnumber our older players. So, but it's been a pretty smooth transition. Obviously it's a little more challenging when they can't do things together off the field, and we had a limited time on the field to get to know each other and so forth. So that's a little bit challenging. But this group of freshmen are really very special, and they've got quite a bond together. And they've really bought into the culture of the team and contributing to that right away in any way that they can. And quite frankly, they don't know any better. So, they're coming in and to them, this is the norm. And, it's probably going to be a little bit more of a shock when we get back to, say, a more normal situation than it is now, because this is all they've really known.
I mean, they don't call it the new normal for nothing, right?
No, not at all.
Well, speaking of new normals and norms that could end up staying put going forward, I've talked to some of the other coaches around Salisbury, and there are certain changes that COVID has forced that they look at and say, hey, you know what, that's actually something that we might do going forward once we get post-pandemic. Are there any of those changes that you've found that you want to keep going forward 22 and beyond?
Well, it's certainly not taking their temperature every day as they walk onto the field, but I think we've had an opportunity now with the NCAA, passing that 114-day training opportunity throughout the year. That has given us a significant amount of time in the fall and then now in the spring, and the opportunity for us to play in the spring a few games certainly is a bonus that's coming out of this. So, normally in the spring we'd have 5 weeks with them, and so basically I would see them for the month of April, first week in May, and then that's it. So they would have much more time where they were kind of on their own and training on their own. So we're getting a little bit more time that way. So that's certainly a bonus for us, and certainly as a coach, I look at that as a bonus. As an administrator, that becomes more of a nightmare. But I think that's certainly been a positive part that has come from all this.
Let's shift gears and talk about piecing together a schedule here in the spring of 21. Can you take us through the process of going and finding opponents and putting together a field hockey schedule that can and probably will change on a dime?
Yeah, certainly, you got to look at some factors like, who is following the NCAA protocol, in terms of the testing and so forth, because, the first and foremost, it's the safety of our student athletes that we have to, put at the forefront. But, just, reaching out to people, finding out who can play out of conference, who can't, trying to stay as local as possible, because, the bus situation is going to be really, really challenging, but I think overall, we've been very fortunate. We've been able to secure 5 games right now, and hopefully those will stick, and we'll get them in and be able to have some good competition outside of our own team in the spring.
I would think of all the places to have to draw local from in the midst of something like this for field hockey. We're in basically the apex of the place you want to be.
Well, in terms of Maryland, there are a few teams, but there's nobody really local for us. So it's not like being in some spots where, you've got multiple teams that are within 30 minutes to play. Our closest opponents probably going to be, 2 hours, 2.5 hours away. So, and we've got most of those on our schedule. So, it's, when I say local, we don't, I think three out of our or four out of our five games are in the state of Maryland. So that's good. We've got one in Virginia, but you know obviously we can't do overnight trips in the spring. So we're just working on that, and looking forward to having an opportunity to compete.
Local in this instance means being able to get through just one movie on the bus and not having to start a second.
Yeah, there you go.
Personnel-wise, always a deep roster, it seems like. Who are some of your role players from last year who you're looking to step up into sort of starring roles this year?
Well, some of our let me just talk first about we lost our entire defense except for our goalkeeper. So it's kind of I guess you can look at that as another opportunity where we can make the most of what we did, because or what we have here. Our goalkeeper Dawn is the only one coming back, and she'll be she's our lone senior, and she's made the decision to come back and play next year. So we're very fortunate with that, because she's an All-American, and just really key to our defensive success. So with that said, one of the role players who will be joining us in the backfield, anchoring that defense, will be Mackenzie Jameson. And she's a sophomore. She had some injuries that didn't allow her to reach her full potential last year, and she came in this fall on fire and ready to go, and we're really looking forward to what she's going to be able to do to help solidify such a young defense out there. Mackenzie Mitchell, another player, she's a junior this year. She plays a lot and got a lot of playing time last year, but we're looking for her to go above and beyond that and really step into a nice role. And those three are our captains and our leaders, so we're really looking for them to step up and do some great things for us this year.
Before we started, you and I were talking about how just getting to play is sort of the main blessing of this year, and that anything beyond that is gravy. What does a really successful season look like for your team this spring?
Well, I think, first of all, we always talk about getting 1% better every single time we step out on the field, in practices and stuff. So, they really did that this fall, and I think, successful spring is going to be continuing that, and making sure that, we're having an opportunity to play a lot of different people, and to give them an opportunity to grow, and just prepare ourselves for hopefully a regular fall season, with some competition. You can only practice so long before you have an opportunity to compete and really say, okay, are the skills that we're learning in practice going to transfer into what we're doing in a heated competition? So I think this is going to give us an opportunity to see how people step up in competition, and what are our really strong points, and what are the areas that we still need to focus on to get better, so we're ready to roll once August comes around.
She's Dawn Chamberlin, head coach of Seagull Field Hockey, and this has been our check-in with her. Dawn, thanks for joining us, and we can't wait to see the team back out on the field again.
All right. Thank you very much, Will.